Arpanam astu shubham bhuyat vasudeva sutam devam kansa chanuramardanam devaki paramanandam krishnam vande jagadguru. Hari Om. Today we will commence or continue with chapter 14, verse number 17. So we have seen Krishna discuss many aspects of the three gunas, the sattvic, rajasic and tamasic. And today he will be summarizing some of the qualities of the gunas, and then from then he will start a new topic that will be from verse number 19. Okay, so now in verse number 17, he wants to explain to us what is the fruit or the result of each guna. When sattva is dominant, what is the fruit? Rajas is dominant, what is the fruit, and so forth. So what does he say in verse number 17? So in verse number 17, wait, just let me get minutes here, 16. Okay, in verse number 17, he says, from sattva, when you have predominant sattvic gunas, samjayate is born. So what is the result when we have predominant sattvic gunas? Is born jnanam, knowledge. Because sattvic gunas drive us to seek knowledge, whether it is worldly knowledge or whether it is spiritual knowledge. Of course, in this instance, he is speaking about spiritual knowledge. So a sattvic person devotes more and more time because the mind is also pure, the mind is very noble, it is seeking answers. So the sattvic person is driven to seek this spiritual knowledge. And what does this spiritual knowledge also do? In chapter 4, verse 38, if we just take a quick look back at chapter 4, verse 38, that is on page 96, chapter 4, verse 38, page 96. There Lord Krishna also glorified what is the advantage when we have this knowledge. He said, there is no purifier in this world like knowledge. So knowledge is the greatest purifier. Why? Why is knowledge the greatest purifier? Because it removes away our most basic, fundamental ignorance, which is we are the body. We mistake ourselves as a body. We don't realize we are actually the eternal soul. So only spiritual knowledge can remove this very hardcore ignorance that we have. So he says there is no purifier in this world like knowledge. That means even whatever prayers we do, whatever rituals we do, whatever pilgrimages we go to, they cannot remove away our ignorance. Just like a dark room, you cannot remove the darkness from a room until you shine a light in it. If you just wash the walls of the room, you're not going to be able to get a bright room. So the only way to remove ignorance is through knowledge. That's why the Lord says, there is no purifier in this world like knowledge. And he who is perfected in yoga, meaning this knowledge, realizes in his self in due course of time. Slowly this knowledge will dawn on you that you are the Atman, you are the eternal soul. So that is the greatest advantage of knowledge. It is a great purifier also. And therefore this knowledge will eventually culminate in moksha. Knowledge is the only path we have that will culminate in moksha. And what is the difference? Sattvic person also gets knowledge. Rajasic person also gets knowledge. Tamasic person also gets knowledge. Imagine 3 types of people come for a spiritual talk. There is a sattvic mind, there's a rajasic mind listening, there's a tamasic mind also listening. But what is the difference in the knowledge that they take back? The difference here is given to us in chapter 18, verses 20, 21, and 22. What is the difference between sattvic knowledge, rajasic knowledge, and tamasic knowledge? Chapter 18, verses 18, 19, verses 20, 21, and 22. Page 313. So, sattvic knowledge is described in verse 20, that by which the one imperishable being is seen in all beings, undivided among the divided, know that knowledge to be sattvic. That means a sattvic person sees unity in diversity. There is diversity, but he doesn't see the diversity. He only sees that one Atman, that one consciousness residing everywhere in this whole creation. So a sattvic person's understanding of knowledge is unity in diversity. What about the rajasic person? Verse 21. That knowledge by which the manifold existence is seen as separate from the other, know that knowledge to be rajasic. Meaning, the rajasic person sees diversity in unity. He does not see that oneness, instead he sees a diverse creation. Now, what is the disadvantage when we have rajasic knowledge, when we see diversity in creation? What is the greatest disadvantage? What is the greatest disadvantage? What is the problem when I see diversity instead of unity? Exactly. So what is the problem? You see everybody is different. What is the problem that arises from that? Huh? Correct. But what is the problem? What is the problem that arises when you don't see raga dvesha? Raga dvesha, likes and dislikes. I like that person, I don't like that person. This fellow is nice, that fellow is not nice. We start distinguishing, or we start putting people into categories. So that develops a like for something and that develops a dislike for something. That is rajasic, because I don't see that unity, I don't see that one divine consciousness in everywhere. What about tamasic knowledge? Verse 22, chapter 18. That knowledge by which one holds to one individual effect as it were the whole, without reason, without recognizing the truth, is of no value and is considered tamasic. Meaning, tamasic knowledge is when the person refuses to listen to anything else. He only has his own fixed ideas. He's so engrossed in his ideas, he doesn't want to listen to any logic, any reasoning. He has already made up his mind, what is this whole world about? What is life all about? So that is the difference between sattvic and rajasic and tamasic. Tamasic person would stubbornly just hold on to the wrong ideas because he's not interested to listen to anything else. So coming back to chapter 14, verse 17, the Lord says, from sattvic gunas, samjayate jnanam, arises or it leads to the birth of knowledge. What about rajasic gunas? Rajasic arises lobha, greed. Because a rajasic person is so much driven by selfish desires, not just any desire, but selfish desires. And what we discussed a few weeks back, when the desires get out of control, they lead to greed. So what is the difference between greed and desire? Desires which are uncontrolled lead to greed, because multiple desires come up and we keep on satisfying the desires, it ultimately leads us to greed. So the Mahabharata describes it like desires are like putting ghee into the fire. The more and more you try to satisfy the desires, the more and more you pour ghee into a fire, the fire will not get less, it will get more. And eventually you're unable to control it. So from Rajasic Gunas, ultimate result will be there will be greed. And when there is greed that overtakes you, you lose your sense of rational, you lose your sense of thinking, and it will lead eventually to your spiritual downfall. What about tamasic gunas? Verse 17, he says, from tamasa bhavata eva, verily comes into existence or arises three things: pramada, moha, and ajnanam. So there are three qualities that arise when tamasic gunas are predominant. That is the result of tamasic gunas. You can see the words in the third line of the Sanskrit text. Pramada, moha, and ajnanam is on the fourth line. Okay. So what is pramada? So what is a tamasic person? He doesn't want to listen to any knowledge. He's so stubborn and he wants to just be left alone to enjoy his sleep and food. He's not interested in gaining any new knowledge. So pramada means there's negligence, there's carelessness in his life. He does things in a very reckless way, right? So he does reckless actions, careless actions that not only result in harm to himself but also harm to society. So you can see these are like the alcoholics, the drug addicts, etc. They just think what they are doing is correct, but they are self-destructing themselves. Second quality he gives here is the fruit of tamasic gunas is moha. Moha means wrong thinking. So there is no interest or capacity to even change. Even if you meet somebody, they try to advise you, you don't want to listen. Very stubborn. That's the nature of tamasic behavior. Moha, wrong thinking. And finally, the last quality is ajnanam, which is ignorance. The person from birth till death remains in a state of ignorance. Born ignorant, dies ignorant, and carries on and on and on. Now, is there a possibility for the tamasic person to come out of his ignorance? Is there a possibility? So heavy tamasic gunas. He is so lazy, stubborn, what you call procrastinating. Is there a way for him to come out? How? How? Exactly. So hopefully if there's some punyam left in his past karma somewhere, might meet the right person or the right guru and change his life also. And I gave you one greatest example, I think 1 or 2 weeks back. Who was that highway robber? Huh? Ratnakara, who became Valmiki, exactly. He met Narad and he changed his whole life and became a saint, Valmiki, who wrote the Ramayana. So there is a possibility for even tamasic people to change their whole life. So this is the fruit of Sattvic, Rajasic and Tamasic. Now, Sri Krishna in verse 18 will conclude his discussion about the explanation of the gunas. To once again, he repeats what he said earlier, what happens when these gunas are predominant in us. Okay, what is the ultimate destination? Where will we end up? So a sattvic person, he says in verse 18, satvashta. Sta means a person who is established in sattvic gunas. So he's constantly seeking knowledge, constantly purifying himself, constantly doing noble and good actions. What will be the result of this person when he dies? Kachanti, he goes where? Urdhavam, higher. Higher means what? Huh? The higher realms. He goes to the Swarga Lokas, the 6 Swarga Lokas, which we also talked about, I think 1-2 weeks back. Okay, there are 6 Swarga Lokas, and the more purer his actions, the higher the loka he goes. But we must always keep in mind that going to the Swarga Lokas is not moksha, it is only a temporary place for you to go to burn up your punya karmas. And once you exhaust the punya karmas, you have to come back. But this is the beauty. Where does this sattvic person come back? He has to come back here. But what type of environment does he come back to? Huh? What type of sattvic environment? This Krishna is mentioned to us in chapter 6, verses 41 to 44. So you go back and look at chapter 6, verses 41 to 44. Since heaven is not the ultimate destination, and even the sattvic person has to come back, in what kind of situation does he come back? So page 131. He who has fallen from yoga means he did not complete and reach his what we call spiritual height. He did not reach Jivan Mukta while he was still alive. Sattvic person, good person, but could not reach that level of Jivan Mukta when he was living. What happens? Having obtained the higher worlds, to which men of meritorious deeds alone are entitled, having resided there for countless years, he burns up all his punya karmas, then takes birth in the house of pious and wealthy men. So, understand, both are there. The family is pious, at the same time wealthy. It is not pious or wealthy, you get both. So, why two must be there? Piousness is there, wealth also is there. Get any? Okay, one, he has money means not money to squander on himself, but he has money to do seva, his money to do dhanam. And because there is what we call pure piousness there, so the parents instill good values, good knowledge, good morals in that person. So both is there. Finance is there, that means all obstacles are removed. You don't have all those financial problems. And at the same time, morality must be there, piousness must be there. Because understand, if you only come back and say, I don't want piousness, as long as make me be born in Bill Gates' son, no problem. I want only money. But if money is there and piousness is not there, then what happens? Then corruption sets in. Right? Wrong values, wrong ideas set in. So that's why he says, born in the house of pious and wealthy men. Both are there. And there's one more possibility in verse number 42. Verse number 42, he says, or if he has developed dispassion, if he has reached a higher level of purity upon death, he may be born in the family of enlightened yogis. So there everybody is very enlightened. He is born into such a family. Okay. So two possibilities are there. And that is what happens to a sattvic person. Goes to the heavenly planets and comes back down and takes birth in the right places. So what happens then? He is driven further on the spiritual path to attain moksha also. And what about Rajasic persons? The Lord says in verse 18, Rajasa, because they are engaged in continuously selfish, greedy activities, they don't care about others, they are only interested in themselves, they tishtanti, they remain in madhye. Where is madhye? Where is middle? Left. You're hanging, suspended somewhere. You're neither there nor here. No. Where are you now? Bhuloka itself, exactly. You have to come back for more Bhagavad Gita lessons. Not enough. So, Madhya means Bhuloka. So, if you have some, what you call, you're reborn back into Bhuloka, because you must understand, Bhuloka is the only place where you can change your future. You can change your destiny. Because what you do in Swarga Lokas, if you do anything good in Swarga Lokas, you don't get any punyam. You do bad things in Swarga Loka, you don't get any papam. Swarga Lokas are known as Bhoga Bhumis. Bhoga Bhumi means you only go to exhaust your karmas. You cannot earn any more new karmas. Same with the lower worlds, that what we call the Patal Lokas. That also is called Bhoga Bhumi. Meaning you go there, you do more bad things, you don't get more papam. If you do good things also, you don't get punyam. You just exhaust your karmas. So Bhuloka is the only loka which is called Karma Bhumi, where every action as a result. And therefore, you can use your free will to change your destiny, to change the course of your life. So that's why these Rajasic people, because they have so many desires to fulfill, they are brought back to the right environment, that is Bhuloka. So if you want to carry on fulfilling your desires, you carry on. But if you want to change your life, there is a possibility here. Okay. And then what about Tamasic? So he says, those who are Jaganya Guna Vrittishta. Here meaning, Jaganya means those who have inferior, Vrittishta means way of life. Those who are engaged in the most inferior way of living. Despite having taken a human birth, despite having been blessed with the intellect, with the buddhi to change your life, a human being doesn't use that opportunity. Shankara says, very strong words he uses in his writings, says a human being who does not use his intelligence, his intellect to change his life, when he is given the human birth, has literally committed suicide. You have literally wasted your whole human birth. So here Krishna says the same thing. Jaganya Guna Vrittishta. Jaganya means inferior. Vrittishta means way of life. Those who have engaged in the most inferior way of life, giving in to sleep, laziness, procrastination, all kinds of what we call inferior way of living. What happens to these people? Tamasic gunas gachanti adaha. Those who have predominant tamasic gunas at the time of death, they will go down. Down meaning the seven patal lokas. The more tamasic gunas you have, the more lower you go, the more heavier the